US may have big problems in the near future and that the chance of this is high. But Elon Musk recently said that AI can help the US. He also tried to find problems in the US government before. Now he believes AI will help the US and other Western countries. What do you think about this?
Mentality of your population. Before, what was good, what was important is to work hard and contribute to your community. And that meant that people took pride in going to the factory, making products, and helping the factory become wealthier. Now, what matters is get rich now, right? So that's why people like Andrew Tate are so popular, right? Because he's telling you, hey, if you work hard, you're a sucker. You're a loser. If you follow rules, if you listen to your boss, you're a loser. You're a moron. What you want to do is get rich and become your own boss. Right? And that mentality has taken over young people.
大家好，一个曾经主导世界秩序的超级大国，是否正在走向衰退？美国的霸权真的正在出现裂痕吗？在一场访谈中，耶鲁大学学者江学勤与一位外国主持人围绕帝国兴衰的话题展开了一场激烈讨论。在过去几十年里，美国不断通过军事行动、经济制裁以及联盟体系影响全球格局，从中东战争到对其他国家实施长期限制，美国频繁采取强硬手段的背后，究竟是在维护世界秩序，还是在应对自身影响力下降带来的压力？一个正在面临内部挑战的帝国，往往会通过强化外部竞争来维持自身地位，而这是否正是美国当前所面临的困境？面对这些问题，江学勤没有将原因简单归结为某一次战争或某一项政策，而是从更长的历史周期出发，分析一个强大国家走向变化时可能出现的深层原因。他认为，一个国家的衰落往往不是从失败开始，而是从内部变化开始。那么，美国真的正在走向衰败吗？江学勤又将如何解读美国未来的发展方向？让我们一起走进这场访谈。
Professor Zhang, I have to tell a little bit my viewers. In 2024, on camera, you made 3 predictions. That Trump would win, that he would start war, and that America would lose it. What are your predictions right now? What are they about? What do you think will happen in the future?
So, to understand the future, we have to use game theory to understand the situation of each nation state. Okay? So let's look at America first. America. What is the source of American power? What is the point of America? And the point of America is to protect the supremacy of the US dollar.
Yeah.
Right? Because everyone now uses the US dollar, and America can print an infinite number of them. So that's the source of American power. The problem with the US dollar is that it's a Ponzi scheme, meaning that the US dollar has no inherent value in itself. It's only valuable if people want it. And unfortunately, right now, because of financial corruption in America, because the American military is too overextended, a lot of nations are choosing to walk away from the US dollar. So look at Japan and China. They are selling more US treasuries. The GCC nations, for the longest time, were supporting the American economy, were buying US dollars.
Yeah.
But because of this war, they're now forced to sell more US dollars in order to finance their own economies now that they can export oil. What's been happening is that the bond yields for US treasuries have been going up. This is a problem because right now America has $39 trillion in debt. So if the debt yield, the interest rate is 5 to 6%, that means America has to pay $2 trillion in interest payments alone annually. And you can imagine that over time, this entire Ponzi scheme will collapse. So America has absolutely no choice but to force the world to continue to buy US treasuries. So the only strategy available to America is to use the Mackinder hypothesis and create as much chaos as possible so that the world is forced to go to America to buy energy, weapons. Okay? So imagine a situation like this, where right now in Europe, there's a war going on between Europe and Russia. In East Asia, there's conflict now between Japan and China. In the Middle East, the conflict is between Iran versus the United States and Israel. Every one of these nations requires energy, oil, weapons. America is a continental fortress that has unified the Western Hemisphere. Now they have infinite resources. And they're able to turn these resources into weapons that they can sell the rest of the world. And the rest of the world is forced to buy US dollars in order to buy this energy and weapons from America, okay? So that's the American strategy moving forward. They have absolutely no choice in the matter because they're addicted to US dollars, require the rest of the world to buy US dollars, so they need to force the rest of the world to buy US dollars.
You said that the US may have big problems in the near future and that the chance of this is high. But Elon Musk recently said that AI can help the US. He also tried to find problems in the US government before. Now he believes AI will help the US and other Western countries. What do you think about this?
Okay, so let's analyze why America is in decline. And when you analyze why it's in decline, what you recognize is that it's declining for every single reason why empires in the past have declined before. All right, so let's go over the three major reasons why America is in decline. All right, so
Yes,
the first major reason is financialization. Okay, what does this mean? It means that when an empire arises, it focuses on manufacturing. It focuses on creating real products, weapons, consumer goods. But over time, what an empire does is it offshores its manufacturing to other people, to other nations, to other groups. And it focuses on financial speculation, primarily the idea of usury, okay? Money lending. Why? Because that's the most profitable thing to do. But the problem is that financialization does not lead to real productive growth. It doesn't lead to real wealth generation. It only looks like money on paper. If you open a restaurant or you open a factory, you're contributing growth to the economy, right?
Yeah.
On average, you could be seeing a return of 2%. But if you take the same money, you put in the stock market, you see a return of 5%. So who's going to do any work, right? And the reason why this arises is because of the nature of capital. Capital consolidates. Capital monopolizes. And once you monopolize, it's easier for you to make money. And you don't have to do a good job anymore, right? So think of Google and Apple. They spend most of their resources on stock buybacks in order to create this illusion that they're creating more value for stockbrokers. This is all financialization. And the problem with financialization is that it warps the mentality of your population. Before, what was good, what was important is to work hard and contribute to your community. And that meant that people took pride in going to the factory and making products and helping the factory become wealthier. Now, what matters is get rich now, right? So that's why people like Andrew Tate are so popular, right? Because he's telling you, hey, if you work hard, you're a sucker. You're a loser. If you follow the rules, if you listen to your boss, you're a loser. You're a moron. What you want to do is get rich and become your own boss, right? And that mentality has taken over young people. This is a huge problem because it means that it's hard for an empire in decline like America to invest in long-term projects. So AI, absolutely, in theory, AI could make America a much stronger society. It could create real wealth. The problem is, if you look at AI and what's been happening, is that it's basically a Ponzi scheme where there's only a few companies and they all just invest in each other, creating the illusion of wealth. And even today, no one knows how to make money out of AI. So OpenAI has ChatGPT. People don't appreciate this, but for every new subscriber to ChatGPT, they lose money. ChatGPT is not a profitable model. And no AI expert can tell you how to make money. And the problem is that in Empire Decline, it's all focused on speculation. It's about gambling. It's about getting rich, as opposed to being practical and pragmatic, okay? So that's the idea of financialization. That's the first problem with an empire in decline. Second problem with an empire in decline is the demographic crisis. The idea is that because society is prosperous and it's stable and it's peaceful, people get older. And because they're getting older, they're able to monopolize much of the wealth, power, and status in society, leaving little opportunities for young people. And we're seeing that throughout the Western world today, where the baby boomers are in charge and they refuse to give up power.
Mm-hmm.
So think about these US presidents. They're all baby boomers. You go to Congress and you've got guys like Chuck Grassley, who is a US senator, and he's 93 years old. Can you imagine that? 93 years old, and he's still working as a US senator. He's the fourth person in line to become president of the United States. If Donald Trump dies, it's J.D. Vance. If J.D. Vance dies, it's Mike Johnson. If Mike Johnson dies, it's Chuck Grassley. And so what's happening in the Western world is the baby boomers refuse to retire. So what do young people do? They refuse to work. They refuse to have children. They become indifferent to society. But the next step is for them to fight each other, for a civil war to break out. And this is just historically what's always been true. Okay?
Okay, you mentioned there are three ideas. What's the third one?
Right, and the last and the most important is the idea of elite overproduction. Okay? So this is an idea from a historian named Peter Turchin. He's trying to mathematically model how revolutions happen. And so he looked at the French Revolution, he looked at the fall of the Roman Republic, he looked at many serious events throughout human history. And mathematically, he discovered the main cause of civil war, of collapse, is you have too many elite struggling for too few positions of status, of power, right? So think about how in America, for the longest time, financiers were in charge. Wall Street was in charge. But then, these past 20 years, you have the tech revolution. So now you have these tech oligarchs like Elon Musk and Peter Thiel and Larry Ellison. They want to be in charge as well. So what happened was that they sponsored someone to come into Washington, D.C. to overthrow the financial elite. And this person, of course, was Donald Trump. Who backed Donald Trump in 2024? Peter Thiel, Larry Ellison, and Elon Musk. Because they're trying to overthrow the power of the financial elite and establish the power of the tech oligarchy. And so what's going to happen in America over the next few years is a civil war rising between the old guard, Wall Street, and the new guard, Silicon Valley. And what Peter Turchin says is that this is the most common explanation for why societies go into decline. Okay? So again, to summarize, there are three major symptoms of a nation in decline. America has all three: financialization, demographic crisis, where young people refuse to have children and work, and then elite overproduction. Okay, and then everything else is an outgrowth of these problems. For example, immigration. Why is there immigration, both legal and illegal, to the United States? And the answer is young people don't want to work, and so you need to bring in immigrants in order to replenish the workforce. But we know historically, if you do this, if you allow too many immigrants to come into the country, it's going to cause civil chaos.
回顾这场访谈， 江学勤并没有简单的将美国当前面临的问题归结为某一次政策失误，而是从更长的历史周期出发，分析一个超级大国走向变化时可能出现的内部信号。他认为，当一个国家开始过度依赖金融体系，社会活力逐渐下降，内部精英竞争不断加剧时，往往意味着它正在进入一个关键转折阶段。从这个角度来看，美国近年来频繁介入全球冲突，不断扩大海外军事行动，或许并不仅仅是为了维护所谓的国际秩序，而是在维护一个正在承受压力的体系。过去，美国依靠美元、金融和军事优势维持全球影响力，但如今，当这些基础开始受到挑战时，战争、制裁和地缘竞争是否也成为美国维持自身优势的一种方式？那么，美国今天所面临的困境，到底是短暂调整，还是一个超级大国走向衰退的前兆？美国不断发动海外行动，究竟是在维护霸权，还是在掩盖内部压力？未来的世界格局，又会不会因为美国的变化而重新洗牌？欢迎在评论区留下你的看法。